other jurisdictions in the global south, or they are regions where maltreatment takes place in a legal vacuum. Today's conversation will engage experts from South Global in sharing case studies or laws where a sterilization and vaccination program has positive results. Further, it will also discuss the strategies for reducing suffering and conflict between humans and stray dogs in the global south. On this note, I welcome our esteemed speakers today. I'm going to introduce them in the alphabetical order. Our first speaker today is Mr. Altamish Saeed. He is a Pakistani animal rights lawyer, philanthropist, and teacher. He holds an animal law LLM from Lewis and Clark Law School as the first Pakistani recipient of the Brooks Institute for Animal Law Rights and Policy International Scholarship, a human rights LLM from the University of Michigan Law School as the comparative and international law scholar, and a JD from Lahore University of Management Sciences, Pakistan. He is currently an environmental law LLM candidate at Lewis and Clark Law School as the recipient of the LLM Ambassador Award Scholarship. He is also the co-founder, president of Charity Doings Foundation and the Animal Welfare Ambassador to Comprehensive Disaster Response Services, both non-profit organizations registered in Pakistan and USA. He is also a junior fellow at the Animals and Biodiversity think tank at the Global Research Network. He is also a founding partner of Environmental and Animal Rights Consultants LLP, Pakistan's first dedicated animal law and policy firm. Thank you, Altamash, for being here. Our second esteemed speaker today is Ms. Claudia Andrade. She is a registered veterinary technician and have been working in the veterinary field for 21 years. She has been working for 12 years in high volume spay and neuter in Los Angeles for the low income population. She also has helped spay and neuter in Nicaragua, Mexico, and Puerto Rico. Thank you so much, Claudia, for joining us today. Our third speaker, Mr. Khageshwar Sharma Bhattarai. He is the co-founder of Himalayan Animal Rescue Trust, which is co-founded in 2010. He has been involved in animal welfare work for almost of his career, where his focus has been on dog population management and rabies control. He has been instrumental in persuading municipalities to end culling by introducing the concept of surgical sterilization. Thank you very much, Mr. Khageshwar, for joining us today. And in the last, I, Varnika Singh, will share the perspectives of issues in street dogs in India. So with this note, let's start with our first speaker, Mr. Altamash. Floor for you, Altamash.
Thank you so much for that, Varnika. Is it possible if you can share my presentation?
Yeah, let's share your PPT.
And I apologize to everybody. I will be turning my video off because I have really bad internet and I'm currently in Pakistan. So it happens here. It's okay.
Just
No worries. I can actually start with a story as well. And the first picture that comes up on my presentation, there's a dog in the right top corner. And she's basically a street dog. I've used the term community dogs actually. And she recently gave birth to 8 wonderful babies on the street. And we see this dog. She's like, part of our family. And this is something, feeding stray dogs is something that I personally started through my nonprofit when COVID-19 happened in Pakistan. And we personally felt that humans and animals were equal victims. And for the animal side, as we can understand, because restaurants were closed and many of these street dogs relied on leftovers as their primary source of food, they were basically starving. So in 2020, we started a small Empathy for the Voiceless campaign to feed these stray dogs. And we have been doing that since 2020. Even though the numbers are really small, we have fed at least over 100,000 stray dogs at this point. A really small number in 3 years, but for all those dogs that we help, this means the world to them. And this dog does not have a name because, as Eureka mentioned, whose dog is it? I don't know. She's a community dog, and this presentation is actually dedicated to her. And I will basically be presenting as an expert on animal law in Pakistan, the situation here. And Monica, can you go to the next page?
yes.
So my presentation is divided into five parts. In the start, I will be basically giving statistics and data about street dogs or community animals in Pakistan with a focus on dogs. And as a lawyer, I will be sharing the different laws that exist in the country, their deficiencies, and how they can be improved. And then I'll be focusing clearly on the issue of dog culling, which is a major issue in Pakistan, particularly, and dog fighting as well, and a very slight connected issue that happened in Pakistan last year, which was street dogs being picked up from the streets and being used in veterinary research in a certain university. So I will start with the statistics. And this is where the human animal relationship and the anthrozoology perspective is really important. So it's better we understand what the demographics of the country are. There are over 242 million people in Pakistan, which is a massive number given its size. 30% of the population lives in total poverty, and for these people, they don't have food for their families, and at the same time, it's really hard for them to understand a suffering of a dog in the street as well. That's a very important component that's ignored. Moving forward, Islam is actually the state religion of Pakistan, and 90% advocates for a lot of animal welfare for all animals. But there is a slight misinterpretation in the religion that dogs are actually /cultural backlash against these animals, which through a misinterpretation has affected the dog population across the country. There are over 3 million stray dogs in Pakistan, and more than 1 million dog bite cases are reported every year. Um, Around 2,000 to 5,000 people die of rabies every year due to these bites. And Pakistan has four provinces, out of which our most highly populated city, Karachi in Sindh, has the highest number of dog bites, and most of them are children, lower age, which basically creates a debilitating effect. Like if dogs bites can basically kill children, and that creates some kind of a that creates a huge issue in the country, basically. And these numbers are actually on the rise, and it's directly linked with how street dogs are seen or not seen by the public on the streets. Next slide, please. So more on the numbers, more than and street dog culling, basically, which is a practice of using inhumane and very cruel methods of killing dogs, either through pellets or guns or even poisoned meat, and sometimes even nails within the animal feed, is actually carried out by the government, because and as a result, they basically issue mass culling orders of, and as a result, 50,000 dogs die on the street every year because of this issue, and this clearly needs to stop. And Karachi and Lahore, which are the major two cities, have the highest rates of dog killings, because these two cities have the highest population of people as well. And in the urban setting and the economic factors, street dogs are mostly killed in these areas. And so before I jump in, I actually wanted to give people solutions, and many of you are already fairly familiar with many of these. Trap, vaccination, neutral release model is actually the solution that we are consistently trying to implement in Pakistan. It has become law in a sense, which I will discuss shortly, but it has not been implemented because of religious issues, because of the stigma that dog bites are not curable, they cause rabies, and they kill children, basically. And then we actually need to educate people about animal cruelty and sentience. There's hardly any conversation about this. Our penal laws, which I will discuss shortly, do not have strong penalties, and as a result, people become habitual offenders. There needs to be more education about animal welfare under Islamic principles, and this misinterpretation has to be done with. Mass culling as a policy from the government is financially counterproductive because of biological equilibrium, because when a dog feels that its population is threatened, it's going to overpopulate itself. And that's why for the last 70 years, even though mass culling has been happening across Pakistan, it has not resulted into any benefit. And given we have such a huge poverty number, and we are an economically weak country, this is actually counterproductive and can be used as a good measure to advocate against mass culling in Pakistan. We need a nationwide ban on this, and we need to advocate for mass vaccinations. Pakistan currently does not have any special body for animal welfare, and even though we have a lot of legislation around animal welfare, there's hardly any implementation. And we need to and there are some several other unique ideas that we can do is advocating for street dogs or community animals through corporate social responsibility. We need to create a legal duty of care for animals, which does not exist, and which advocates for the organization, the international organization WOA, basically the World Organization of Animal Health, their five freedoms. We need to ban hunting for sports, and we need to create an element where we teach children, particularly about kindness. And Pakistan currently only has one SPCA, which is like a prevention cruelty center, which is active currently only in one province. It has to be activated in other countries, and because of this misconstrued and confused angle that, if one street dog bites you, all of them are dangerous. We really need to get away with that and actually define dangerous dogs and develop a dangerous dog board, so this generalization does not happen and not all street dogs, suffer as a result. Next slide, please. Uh, yeah, so to help others understand where Pakistan is actually situated, people think that it's in the Middle East. It's actually in South Asia. It's a global South country. Judicially, we have a common law system and an Islamic system. Next slide, please. And just to explain everybody, we have four provinces, which basically develop their own laws around animal welfare, because animal welfare in Pakistan is a provincial subject, and the federal government cannot basically create laws around animal welfare. Um, Next slide, please. And Islam is actually the state religion, and this is important because Islam is used both for animal welfare and against street dogs, because they're considered impure in the religion, which is a misinterpretation and a confusion. And even though that the Islamic part is not part of my presentation here, this factor is really important. And next slide, please. This is an explanation that all laws need to be in conformance with Islam. And basically what I'm saying is, because Islam advocates for animal welfare, this indiscriminate killing of street dogs is actually something that's against the law and against the Constitution, and can be used as a legal argument. It hasn't been done so far, but it can be for sure, um, if done in a culturally appropriate way. You can go forward. And I just want to bring this one point home: is Pakistan, in Pakistan, as I mentioned before, animal welfare is a provincial subject. This changed basically after 2010, when a new amendment was passed, and prior to 2010, all federal laws were still applicable, which includes the 1890 Prevention of Cruelty Act. But moving forward, any laws that concern animal welfare has to be created in all the different four of the provinces, which is a really hard issue. And as a result, street dog advocacy has suffered for a really long time. Next slide, please. Um, Pakistan currently has a federal law that legislates animal cruelty, and it's from the 1890s, when Pakistan was actually a colony. And the important point I want to bring here home is that animals are only defined as domestic or captured animals. And as we know, street dogs actually do not have any owners. They're technically not even covered under this law for animal protections, legally speaking. But public interest litigation can still be brought if it affects the human side of issues. And since dog culling is a huge society issue which causes, rabies if not properly addressed, um, a public interest petition can be created and has been created in some of the provinces. Next slide, please. Um, these are some of the penalties, which are fairly simple. And for those who have read some of these laws, this is actually copied from the 1866 New York Prevention of Cruelty Act that Henry Burr created, which were basically copied from the British Royal Society for Prevention of Animal Cruelty. And since that day, we still have the very same laws, and so many things have changed, and these are so outdated, and they have to be changed. Um, Next slide, please. And the punishments are really small. So if in case of the first offense, the punishment, the fine cannot be more than 100,000 rupees, um, which when translated dollars is only, like, around $200. And the imprisonment is only for 1 to 2 months, and but this is hardly enforced, even with such low penalties. Next slide, please. However, which is this is interesting, is that penalty for killing animals with unnecessary cruelty anywhere is a violation. And street dogs, even though they are not owners and technically are not covered generally under this act, when they're killed, they do come under this act, and it can be subject to a very high fine. But this is really interesting. And Kashmir, even though next slide, please. Kashmir, which is actually an adjacent territory in Pakistan, it has its own legal system, and their legal system defines cruelty to animals, means an act directed towards an animal which is against the natural instinct and behavior of the animal and has negative effects on the health of the animal, which is much better language than the Prevention of Cruelty Act 1890 language. Next slide, please. This is another angle that's a part of the Pakistan's penal code, where you can advocate for animal cruelty when animals are considered property. So under the property framework, which can be beneficial for owned animals, which is basically technically not street dogs. So even these protections are not handed over to street dogs in any way. And that's a huge gap within the legal system. Next slide, please. This also again covers the Pakistan Penal Code, where you can commit mischief or destroy a property. Destroy is another arcane word which needs to change. However, this law only protects animals only if they're owned, and because of that, street dogs are actually not even covered under this law, while many people still believe so, which is legally incorrect. Next slide, please. And this is where I just want to talk about specifically about dog culling, uh, which is a very controversial issue in our country. And as I said before, Islam, which is the major state religion, legally advocates for animal welfare, but at the same time, there are some references in the Quran that if you basically touch a dog, or not touch a dog, if you're basically its saliva touches you, you become impure, and which is something that's easily flexible. You cleanse yourself, but because of many reasons and the misinterpretation of Islam and poverty and how animals, how the animal welfare movement does not exist properly in Pakistan, these animals are actually invisible, and as a result, they suffer. And next slide, please. And dog fighting is actually a offshoot of that as well. Here, I would just give a graphic warning. I apologize. You can go forward. Um, this is a site of dog culling that happens on a monthly basis in many of the major cities, which is absolutely abhorrent and cruel, and financially counterproductive for a country that has huge economic concerns. And the government is actually doing it, which is even more interesting and cruel. Next slide, please. Um, so far in Pakistan, in very recent years, there have been some cases which have advocated for solving this issue of dog culling by the development of a dangerous dog board. And in Islamabad, there was this landmark case called the Islamabad Wildlife Management Board versus Metropolitan Corporation Islamabad, which is famously referred to as the Kavan case, where an elephant was basically released from the Islamabad Zoo, and the whole zoo was shut down because it could not provide the proper animal-specific habitat for those animals. But in addition to that petition, uh, a petition for creating a dangerous dog board was also put in with the same petition, and the court overall ruled that the Wildlife Management Board has a responsibility to create such a board for regulation of street dog management. And the overall idea was to advocate for TNVR, which is the most appropriate method for addressing this issue. However, so far that board has not been developed, and it's been 3 years um, to, till now. Next slide, please. In Lahore, similarly, there was a case in 2017, which and the case actually took more than 5 years because animal welfare advocacy is still a very new issue in the country. It took 5 years, and the judge actually at the end acknowledged that this is a huge issue in the Lahore in Lahore city in the Punjab province, and they advocated for the development of a gender dog board and creating an ABC law, which is animal birth control through TNVR, which I will mention in the next slide. And I worked on the passage of this law as well, which was to create a framework for animal birth control. And this was eventually created. It was passed in 2021. The idea was to acknowledge that stray dogs are treated cruelly in the country, and there was an acceptance of the OIE 5 freedom principles, and that this issue had to be solved from a humane perspective. Next slide, please. So what we did was we developed this policy, and we used certain guiding principles, which was to advocate for responsible dog ownership, which is really important, and reduction of the dog population using surgical methods, and reduction as a result by vaccination. There would be a reduction in dog bites and eventually rabies, and changing human behavior. Next slide, please. Uh, what we did was, under the regulatory framework, we basically, because Pakistan has a lot of hierarchical layers in the government, we at the lowest level we have the local government, then we have the district government, then we have the city government. We basically create committees at all of these levels, so issues could be brought up from the ground level to the higher up level. Next slide, please. However, even though the law has passed, we are still, conducting meetings under the SPCA of Punjab, which is the only SPCA active in Pakistan right now, to basically record data and work with the government in implementation of this law. And it is important to note that we were the ones who made it pass, and now we have the responsibility to implement it as well, because there's a huge implementation barrier and confusion from the people. And this is at the same time, there was another notification passed, which was basically by the local government, the lowest level of the government in Lahore, where they advocated for defining what dangerous animals really meant. And the idea about this was that if we could define dangerous animals, we would be reducing the generalization effect and saving all those other street dogs that had not bitten anyone and were basically senseless victims of this tragedy. However, if no government or no local government went forward and developed the definition, and this notification was never implemented. Next slide, please. At the same time, as I mentioned before, that the government was the one who was doing this mass culling. Um, we advocated with the Metropolitan Corporation, which is situated under the local government of Lahore, to stop the senseless dog culling issue. And after a lot of protests, they finally agreed. Next slide, please. And this is actually a picture of a dog fighting event that was supposed to take place last year in February, in January, sorry. and you don't have to read it, it's in the local language, but it's absolutely abhorrent. But the two things that I want to mention is that the two dogs that are mentioned in this picture, their names are basically uh, very cruel ones. One of its name is Veshi, which is translated to English meaning of a devilish nature, and the other name is Daku, which is basically a pirate. And the idea that I'm looking for, give the audience is that they were trying to, take away the humanity of these dogs, or animality actually, to basically turn them into these senseless victims, or abusers who just were created to fight. And this is another anthrozoological perspective that's part of the discourse in Pakistan. Next slide, please. So at that point, we worked with the SPCA to basically urge the local government to ban this effort. And it took a lot of protests, but we were successful, and we saved a lot of dogs from that fight. Some other developments that have happened. Next slide, please. In Pakistan, and I'll be ending there very shortly. Is basically the Islamabad government created an animal rights curriculum, which is the first curriculum ever in Pakistan's history, where primary students were taught about animal rights, and a book was also created, which I felt was really important. Next slide. This is a picture of the book. Next slide. This is where I just want to end with this issue, was where a street dog was actually picked up from the street to be used in a live experiment in a university in Islamabad, which was absolutely abhorrent. And this was actually in the picture you see a justification from the particular university, and it said that street dogs are dangerous. That was their argument, and they could just use them with impunity. And what really created this issue, unfortunately, was they actually picked up a street dog of an owned dog who was not wearing collar, unfortunately, and as a result, there was a lot of media rage. And from this, I just want to highlight this issue that what if this was actually a stray animal, then there would have been no backlash and nothing would have happened at all. Next slide, please. And because of this media fire, Pakistan was actually approached by PETA, and they went on to create a ban on live animal testing in the Islamabad province, which is sorry, in the Islamabad Federal Capital Territory, and create a hotline as well. And since Islamabad is a federal capital, I just want to mention again is that the Islamabad laws are not applicable in other provinces, which is another issue. But still, something happened, which was really important, and a landmark movement in the history of street dog advocacy in Pakistan. Next slide, please. So these were some snippets came out at this time, and everything was on hot fire that the government would create an animal welfare law in 2022. However, as without no surprises, it did not happen. Next slide. And so I just want to leave everybody with certain questions that popped up in my mind when I was preparing this presentation. Like, how could we fix this issue? These involve, like, how can we improve the human companion animal bond in a country where animal rights movement does not exist per se? There are economic issues, and things of the like. So this is where I would end, and I'm very grateful to Varnika for sharing my presentation slides, because I had really bad internet, and I hope this was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Altamush. This was really knowledgeable and eye-opening. Now I request Claudia to please share insights.
Hello, I'm Claudia. So I live in California, in LA. I am a registered veterinary technician. I've been doing this for 20 something years, but I've been doing high volume spay and neuter for the last 12 years. I've been going to different countries, mostly Latin America, Mexico, to help, spay and neuter down there because a lot of places don't have that. Recently in October, I went to Puerto Rico where in 3 days we were able to fix 1,000 animals. Um, which was really amazing. Most of them were street animals, some rescues. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the places don't have the resources to be able to spay neuter, or also don't have the money for it as well. So I volunteer with doctors that go down there, a lot of them also do it out of their own pockets. Like where I went to Oaxaca, in December of last year, where what's it called? Sorry, this was 2 years ago. Anyways, we were able to fix 291 pets, most of them as well street animals. I do dogs and cats, but I mean a lot of the animals in the street are mostly dogs that people just pick up and they will fix. But anyways, we were able to do that. I also help in Jalisco, which is a state in the middle of Mexico where one of my aunt lives. One of the vets there is actually one of my friends, and I'm able to send him money, and he's able to get people who are low income and not able to afford the surgery themselves. So I pay for it myself, just so they can be able to do that. If not, they're out there making puppies because most of the dogs in Mexico are just wild and in the street. The sad thing is that when people from Mexico do come here, they do the same thing. So if you go to LA, you see a lot of street dogs because people just leave them out on the street because that's what they're used to. But it's getting a lot better where people are, keeping them inside. A lot of people, are fixing them, but like I said, the resources that people don't even know that there's companies like me where I work at a mobile. It's a high volume for low income people. Anyways, we've in the 12 years that I've worked there, we've done over $100,000, over 100,000 animals, including some rabbits as well. But like a lot of people don't know what the resources that they can apply for, and a lot of them are free. The city does pay for them. Um, let's see. A lot of also is ignorance, not knowing like, oh, if I fix my animal, I've heard they're going to be less of a dog. They're not going to guard my house. What's it called? Also, that they don't know the like if they neuter them, they're not going to get cancer. All the good things about fixing animals. They just see, oh no, I don't want to do it. That's the sad reality of some Hispanic households, which I can say because technically I am Mexican, so this is who I deal with mostly. Um, but yeah, I mean sorry, what's it called? But yeah, the resources that the people just have, don't have or don't understand that they have these things, especially in like the rural parts of Mexico, like where my one of my family members lives. They live in a ranch. My mom actually sent down a trap for my cousin to use out there to trap the cats, and then my mom will pay for them to take them to the city to get fixed because a lot of the cats out there are wild and people can't touch them, and that's the only way that they can do it is having other people like us send down traps and us paying for the surgery themselves. um what's it called? A lot of things also, the sad part too is when there's too many animals, people tend to poison them. And that's the way that they get rid of them, is poisoning. And that's another thing out here as well, is because if they see dogs or cats, they will put poison out to get rid of them because they don't want them in their yard. They don't want to see them outside. I mean, that's the sad truth about animals out here sometimes that people do. Um, I mean, the only way to really do this is to do spay and neuter. Spay and neuter all the animals. That's I myself feel that's the way to get to it, to lower the animals that are coming out. Unwanted pets. The shelters are extremely full. Nobody can take pets. Nobody wants to adopt pets, and people are just letting their animals breed and breed and breed. And it's a sad truth. But I'm out there trying to, inform people what our services are. I'm myself, giving monetary things to people in, countries that I can't go to, like Mexico. Also, I've been in Nicaragua too to spay and neuter out there. But I mean, that's the only way that I feel that I can help out is doing that type of work, volunteering my time, going to places, helping the vets out there is to fix them because I mean that's the only time some animals have the care. That's the only time they're going to get vaccinated, the only time they're going to get seen, and that's it for the rest of their lives until they, either get poisoned, hit by a car, or, hopefully they get taken in by somebody who has a good heart. But I really hope that in the years to come that I'm still able to do what I want, what I can for all these animals that, are unwanted on the streets. But yeah, that's about it for me. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted me to add.
Thanks, Claudia. So it was really insightful. I will just like to ask you, like you were talking about the trap on cats in rural part of
Mhm.
Mexico. So is the sterilization of cats or dogs is also taking place in the rural parts, or because like in India, if I say the rural parts are really
Mhm.
ignored, but
No,
it's
they are. So it's literally the family members that go they live in the rural parts, but they literally drive to the city to be able to fix them. So they trap them and they take them to the city to be able to fix, because that's where we know the vets and that's what we pay the vets to do. But there are campaigns sometimes where they do go into the rural cities and fix the animals there, but it's rare. I mean, the last time they had one was maybe like 8 years ago, but it's not common that people go to rural areas where, a lot of ranch animals are, I mean, oh, if my mom wouldn't have sent over that trap, there were already 20 cats in the area that my mom helped trap. I mean, I can't imagine how many more cats would have been born if we wouldn't have fixed them all.
okay. Thank you so much. I think in the
Mhm.
end we will be taking the questions. So in the end, if there
Yeah,
are any questions, we will get back to you. So thank you so much,
yeah.
Claudia.
Sorry, I talk very fast. I'm sorry.
What's totally fine. It was
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I invite Mr. Khageshwar to share his thoughts.
Namaste. Would you be sharing my presentation, please?
I can share. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give me.
So, like Altamus, I would also like to keep my video off because internet doesn't work at a very lightning speed, like how the company advertises. So I'll turn off my video.
Okay. You can see the presentation.
Yes.
Clearly.
So first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Yoriko and Miss Varnika and all that I associated with Global Research Network for giving us all this wonderful opportunity, this great platform to share our experiences and learn from each other and hopefully work together to make life better for the animals. So my presentation, the aim of my presentation is how NGOs, animal lovers, local authorities can work together. And here I will share how HEART has worked over the years. So basically, this presentation we had prepared for the ACFI Animal Conference. Unfortunately, I could not go, but here I've got a great opportunity to share with you all. Next slide, please. So in this slide, this generally shows about the background information in Nepal. Dog population and rabies management remained a serious problem in Nepal. There is a lack of accurate information about post-exposure treatment and human rabies mortality. Local authorities have responsibility for dealing with issues arising from street animals. Apart from these, a major setback is the lack of adequate Animal Welfare Act. Next slide, please. So this is the scene from the past. Luckily, now we can talk, we can say that it is a thing of a past. So dogs were poisoned with strychnine sulfate until 2017 in Nepal. On October 16, 2017, the Supreme Court enacted the law. So as per Section 290 of the Act, it is illegal for people to beat, kick, or overwork animals or pets, cause or impose any harm, or cause them to undergo disease or injury or disability. If anyone is found guilty, they are liable for imprisonment for up to 3 months or a fine up to rupees 500 or both. In Section 291 of the Act, it is prohibited for people to kill animals in public spaces. However, despite the verdict, some shameful and horrific incidences have occurred. So I will not go into details on that. But problems facing the authorities then and now include sporadic rabies outbreaks in the villages and cities, complaints from communities regarding bites, noise, and health hazards from street dogs, diseased and distressed animals, lack of government guidance, lack of skilled manpower to conduct dog-oriented programs to address the problem. So many organizations, animal welfare organizations, are based in Kathmandu, and they have, most of the organizations have been working for over 20 years. All except Heart have, are based in Kathmandu. So Heart is the only organization that is based outside of Kathmandu Valley that works primarily on dog population and rabies management. Next slide, please. So this is our small facility. We are based in 2 cities, Pokhara and in Chitwan. So we were established in 2010. So although there are many animal welfare issues in Nepal, but Heart has primarily focused on dog population and rabies management. And the dog population and Heart bases are stable. So besides our routine dog neutering, dog rescue programs, and also public awareness programs, Heart also runs a low-cost clinic providing subsidized costs for owned animals. The other major part of Heart activities is conducting volume-based outreach programs in different parts of the country. Next slide, please. So this picture shows where we are located, our base Pokhara and in Bharatpur in Chitwan. So little yellow dot shows where we have worked over the years. So we started conducting field neutering camps from 2012 and have continued these camps every year where we can, except during the lockdown, COVID lockdowns, where we were unable to give continuity to this program. So wherever possible, the local authority is engaged as a collaborative partner. So the usual arrangement in the very beginning, Heart put his own resources to conduct these neutering programs, because I'm talking about 14 years ago. So when there was dog poisoning that was happening publicly, municipality authorities used to conduct poisoning campaigns publicly in many cities and many towns. So Heart used to travel to many of these major cities and towns to provide the alternative to whole-scale poisoning campaigns. So that all happened totally at the cost of the organization. And there is a saying in English that what you lose in the swing, you gain in the roundabouts. So those were the early days that I just mentioned to you about. But now there is a huge demand for neutering campaigns. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, sterilization programs are currently in high demands across the country now. This is partly also because the National Penal Code Act 2017 came into effect on 16th of October 2017, outlawing poisoning. Also, community attitudes have greatly shifted in favor of better animal welfare. So the pressure is now on the local government, because we see mostly 3 government departments responsible for addressing rabies, which is a big zoonotic disease, and also dog population management. So we see public health, health department, they should also play a major role. The other department is the veterinary department. And also we find, nowadays so many professionals talk about One Health approach, but I hardly see any, team from the government, like as I mentioned, veterinary, department, public health department, and the local authorities coming together as a force to tackle this issue. So that, we hardly see that. So municipalities, it's, most of the problems now lies on the local authorities, the municipalities now. But unfortunately, they do not have manpower or skilled, staff to conduct dog-oriented programs. So they rely on organizations like HEART to conduct programs in their town. So I will share with you some more slides and explain to you how we have collaborated with these municipalities. So this picture, we worked with Betamod municipality, which is in the eastern region of Nepal. We first started our neutering work in 2016 in the municipality. So since 2016, we have been working in collaboration with the municipality. There used to be a lot of TVT cases in the past, but the cases have now declined. So our arrangement was at the very beginning, year in 2016 and 17, HEART put its own resources to show the local authorities that this is a better way, human way of how you can control dogs in your, area. So from this third year onwards, we kind of demanded the municipality to put in some resources, because we cannot parachute in their places and become heroes to solve their problem, because this dog population rabies management is a national problem. NGOs cannot take the burden as a whole. So local authorities, being the government body, they should kind of come forward. So we kind of made a agreement that they put in 50% of medical supplies, and HEART would raise another 50% through social media, and they would provide food and accommodation for our team, and HEART would put, share all the technical staff. And you can see in the picture 3 HEART motors that are specifically designed to collect dogs from streets and return back into their territories. So this was the work that we conducted in Betamod. Work is now still happening on an annual basis, where now the municipality funds 50% of the medical supplies and provides food and accommodation to the team. So these works happen every year now. Next slide, please. This picture again, we started our pilot neutering program in 2013 in this city. So Depo-Provera was predominantly used to contracept female dogs, resulting in high levels of pyometra. Dharan Sub-Metropolitan collaborated to provide a venue, but no financial support was given to HEART. HEART has continued to engage Dharan Sub-Metropolitan until now. But last year, good news was, last year they provided food and accommodation to the team. When I say last year, that I mean 2022. So in 2023, they even covered 50% of the medical supplies. So why they are doing it is because they are getting continuous pressure from the public, because HEART goes and helps these municipalities once a year. But once a year, going there once a year would not solve the problem there. It would only help some majority of the dogs in certain areas. So that has kind of generated a lot of awareness in the public, and now public is pressurizing the municipality. So next slide, please. So this again, this picture, you might know that Nepal is very famous, because Nepal shows its identity because of the Mount Everest, the highest peak in the world. So in 2015, in this Everest Trek Trail region, we managed to stop a plot to kill the dogs. It was reported that the dog numbers were growing and was becoming a threat to the Everest climbers and the locals. It so happened at the first year in 2015 that the Sherpa community people, they sponsored air ticket and food and accommodation for the team, and HEART agreed to put in the medical supplies. So the team, flew there to Lukla, and you might know, those who know Nepal quite well, If you Google up and look at the Lukla's airport, it is one of the most dangerous airport in the world. Yeah. So our team members now goes there on an annual basis, because one of the person who was engaged in conducting this program in the Everest Territorial region has now got elected as a ward chairman of the municipality. So this gentleman, through the municipality, has been collaborating with HEART to conduct dog neutering program and vaccination camp annually in this region. But the Everest Trek Trail is one of the most challenging outreach camp for our staff, because we have to travel up to the altitude of 4,500 meters. So, but the good part is that work is happening there every year, and it is the municipality now who is inviting HEART to come there annually to conduct these programs. Next slide, please. So on this picture, you see on the bottom right-hand side, you see a gentleman holding the certificate. That's the mayor of this Siddhartha municipality. So this municipality is very close to where Lord Buddha was born. Okay, so the mayor of this municipality has been very supportive of the work. He came to know about the neutering program. And then I have an anecdote to share with you. Some of his own, he said this in his own words. He actually joined our team from 6 o'clock in the morning, and he used to be there on a regular basis. I've never seen other mayors, taking that kind of participation for this neutering programs, but he was there from 6 o'clock in the morning. So he used to tell us that during his tenure at the Siddhartha municipality, where there are several development plans to carry out, he claims that this dog problem is a big societal concern. And regardless of whether a person owns a dog or not, everyone in the community is impacted by the problem, since it is so pervasive. People come to him or to the ward chairman to complain and seek redress, compensation, describing incidents in which their goats, poultry were attacked and killed by dogs, and how dogs were tailing motorcyclists and causing accidents, and how school children had been bitten, and so on. So he used to say that if they do not make an attempt to address this issue, he would never get elected again. So his fear is that this dog problem is a societal problem. So he is very concerned about giving the continuity to this work, because this dog problem is associated with everybody, he says. So work has happened twice in his municipality, and he's given a very strong commitment that he's willing to give continuity to this work until he's there in his seat as a mayor. Next slide, please. So much as what I said just now sounds very inspiring and encouraging, but there are equal challenges too. Some authorities drift away or simply do not see work or their street animals as a priority. While there are no national guidelines, there is no impetus for local authorities to act. The responsibility for dealing with street dog issues remain with the local authorities, who have a number of other priorities. They seek ways of discharging their remits, but do not have large budgets for the work or expertise in animal welfare. Nowadays, like in Nepal, so many groups, individuals have mushroomed after the lockdown. So we see a lot of these smaller groups now put in tender with the municipality, and they receive the tender from the municipality, and they start conducting neutering programs, which is a big concern, because work does not happen on a very professional level. So whenever we go out in the field camps, we take two issues are very two elements very important. One is the pain management and the aseptic measures. So we see some of these groups are kind of compromising these things, but there are again no regulations to kind of stop this from happening. And as I said earlier too, many professionals speak of One Health concept, but we do not see joint efforts. And in my personal opinion, health department, veterinary department, municipality can come together as a big force to solve this dog population and rabies management in Nepal. Next slide, please. So this we Heart has developed a mobile application, and there is a website called, as you can see, www.dogdata.uk. So Nepal actually has a population of approximately 30 million people, and it continues to urbanize. Despite much focus on Kathmandu, the population of Kathmandu Valley is less than 10% of the total population. Since dogs can suffer equally wherever their location, HEART aims to work with the stakeholders who are often at the back of the queue for attention and resources. HEART remains the only animal welfare organization based outside of Kathmandu. So a further obstacle to improve dog welfare throughout the country is a lack of credible data and lack of transparency. We see so many organizations. Say, for example, if you look into World Rabies Day events, there are so many individuals who conduct, mass vaccinations, in different pockets of the country or different pockets of the city. But it is all fragmented. We do not see, and there would be a lot of duplication. So because of that, we generated this, there is this website where organizations are sharing their data. So this was originally designed to use by the government departments carrying out a nationwide anti-rabies campaign that could be monitored both publicly and remotely. Although this aim has not been yet realized, most of the key animal welfare NGOs working in Nepal use the site and make the dog data available to all. So we hope that we would be able to, because we are trying to hire in one professional person to kind of publicize this, so that every individuals or groups or smaller groups can share their information on this web page, and we can see where the vaccination programs are actively taking place. Next slide, please. So this is the poster that we developed, and this is actually to remind stakeholders that dog population management is a continuing issue. So these kind of posters are prepared for each municipality, detailing the work that is carried out in their municipality. So the posters can also enable the authorities to demonstrate to the citizens where some of their money has been spent. So this is a kind of a little gentle nudge that we put to the municipalities. Next slide, please. So this is my last slide. As you can see on the extreme right and left, these are the two characters that we have created. So this is to actually to represent the thousands of dogs whose welfare is still many years away from being assured. So progress sometimes feels very slow, but looking back 20 years, we can see it is actually happening. Dog population rabies management is a long-term project, and we do not expect instant results, but the work will continue. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take in any questions and answers later on. Thank you very much, Vanika, for sharing my slide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khageshwar. It was really wonderful that you have shown the work of your organization. Yeah. So now I will just share, without taking much time, my presentation regarding the condition in India of street dogs. Is it visible?
Yes, we can see it, Veronica.
So, as all the presenters have shared today, I think the situation in India is also quite similar. India has diverse landscapes and multifaceted issue of street dogs. And the current scenario that is going on in India is actually complex, and it is filled with increased population of street dogs, rabies issue, and the conflict between human and dogs, and also challenges related to their feeding and care. So, as per the 2019 census, the total population of street dogs and cattle mix is comes to 20.331 million. And this is a little surprising that there is no separate official data on number of street dogs in India. And this is the official data which I have shown here, but this includes both stray dogs and cattle. However, in in separate news articles, or as the statistics taken by some of the NGOs, the data of only stray dogs comes to 70 million. So the government data doesn't seem apt here. Now, coming quickly to the major issues that pertains in India to street dogs are rabies issue, there is human dog conflict, and then there are feeding challenges. Regarding rabies, um, as per the World Health Organization, India estimates around 36% of the global and 65% of the human rabies deaths in the Southeast Asia region. So, and the true burden is actually not known, although as per the available information, it causes 18,000 to 20,000 deaths every year, and about 30 to 60% of reported rabies cases that occur in India are in children who are under the age of 15 years, as bites that occur in children often recognized unreported. And this situation is really grave, and and also, as per the government data, there is 2.47 million reported dog bite incidents from different parts of the country that happened between January to October 2023. And the number of dog bites in the year 2021 was 1.7 million, and in 2022 it was 2.18 million. And if then the human dog conflict issues which are there, is they are majorly in urban areas, because rural area is ignored completely. The issues which comes is, when the dogs are scavenging for food, and for that they often lead to the residents in resident welfare societies. And then when a dog is barking in the night or is howling, so it hinders the sleep of the society people. And somehow all such issues, the increase in this population is bringing up a negative impact on the human population. So a lot of confrontation can be seen. And when it comes to the feeding, um, you know it it's like feeding issues of street dogs has, especially in the COVID time, has increased immensely in India. Almost every second society has some issues. Like if a person is feeding a dog, then the other person who do not like stray dogs, they will just come and stop these dog lover to feed that dog, and then they both fight in each other. And sometimes the main issue, that is the feeding of the dog issue, is lost, and it becomes a different legal case of assault or fighting, something like that. So in FIAPO, we do have a emergency desk for such cases, and if we receive such complaints, we do try to work on it. But it is really a small percent, because uh, we cannot take care of whole India, and basically we serve these issues in the national capital region. And due to lack of manpower, it is really unable to take care of all the cases. um, but these cases that they are happening despite the laws. It's not that the laws are not there. So we have Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, and under this act there are Animal Birth Control Rules 2023 that provides all the solution for these street dogs. It provides for sterilization, for neutering, for feeding, and vaccination. So it provides everything in detail. The issue that pertains is the enforcement of these laws. And also the Indian Constitution, gives the duty to the citizens and to the state also. Citizens has the duty to protect and improve the natural environment of the country, including the wildlife. And the state also has, its duty to endeavor to protect and improve the environment, forest and wildlife. Even then, when a citizen is doing their duty towards the animals, they are stopped by other citizens only. So if I come to the animal birth control rules, what they say. So, they provide a full-fledged procedure that how a dog should be picked from the street, from which locality these dogs should be picked, and when they are picked, how they should be sterilized, how should be the center, when what is the even the when the dogs are uh, caught by the people, like municipalities, the local authorities, together with the animal welfare organization, can pick up these dogs. And there is a proper mm, uh, trained method that how to pick up these dot, either through net but and not through any inhumane method. and and that once they are sterilized, these dogs who are picked up from one location, they have to be put to the same location. They cannot be relocated then, and they have to be tagged, and they should have a collar after the sterilization, and 1 year is clipped, so that you know a differentiation can be made that which dog is sterilized and which dog is not sterilized. So I would say on papers the laws and rules are really good, but the enforcement doesn't seem to take place. Even for rabid dogs, and killing of dogs is not allowed, it's illegal. And even for the rabid dogs, if there is a rabid dog, then there is a helpline number from all the municipalities, and you citizen can call to that complaint number and tell them that they suspect a rabid dog. Then the team has to come to pick up that dog and keep the dog in the isolation and check if the dog has rabies. And if that can be treated, then the dog has to be treated. And if it cannot be treated, only then there is the provision for euthanizing of dog. But despite that, yes, there are instances, as same as I think every speaker today has shared, on that the killing cases, poisoning cases, that happens in India. And especially in one specific state of Kerala, this issue has become such a big problem, uh, um, that there was lot of cruelty, like almost the government, and it seemed that all the citizens are so against the street dogs. It became like a anthem to kill street dogs in the state. But somehow uh, they were not successful, and such cases go to court, and somehow the Indian courts always come in the favor of these animals, and they always put a stop if there is a um, if government is pleading to kill these dogs because of the increase in population. The Indian courts have always come in favor and stayed such killing, and always has said to follow the laws, rules and regulations. So, and such one of these cases, what court have said, like in one of the cases in 2021 in Delhi High Court, The court specifically said that animals have a right under law to be treated with compassion, respect, and dignity. Animals are sentient creatures with an intrinsic value. Therefore, protection of such beings is the moral responsibility of each and every citizen, including the governmental and non-government organization. And similarly, in one of the another cases, the court allowed the petitioner to feed stray dogs by directing the government body to follow the guidelines laid down by the Supreme Court and Animal Welfare Board of India. And when one of the cases, even the Bombay High Court has said that under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, there is, there is no provision for killing of dogs, and even the Constitution of India under Article 51 AG, there is a backing for the citizens that they should follow their duty and they can feed these street dogs. The court further added that there is preferably a statute in the nation that the basic constitutional protections guaranteed by the Constitution ought to be held within each reach, even in non-humans. So I think the last resort which we get in India is through court. We always get good orders from the court, and there are some success stories also where the sterilization has been successful despite several challenges, like in cities in Jaipur, Bangalore, and Vadodara. These cities have witnessed positive outcomes, and how these are only through comprehensive sterilization, vaccination, and adoption programs. In the city of Vadodara, which is in the state of Gujarat, 86% of street dogs are sterilized by the year 2022. And this could happen only with the sustainable regime that had been followed in that state, and this happened because in that city a strong local capacity was done, and also thanks to the progressive municipal corporation in that city. So keeping this whole approach, animal welfare organizations, the local people, and the municipality, if they all work together, only then the street dogs population can be reduced. And also in the state of Goa, which is a small state, there since 2015, Mission Rabies is working there, and they have been, successful in showcasing a robust decline in rabies cases. There in 2015, there were 39 rabies cases of dogs, and in 2022, now there is only 2 cases of a rabies dog. So I here in this presentation, I have tried to show the success stories, the good laws, and the good orders, and the issues. But it's not that good every time. There lot of issues a lot of issues keep on happening all the daily on daily basis. On daily basis, we get at least one case of animal dog cruelty, and earlier we were getting lost lot of cases few years back of dog poisoning, though it has been always illegal even for the stray dogs. Stray dogs cannot be killed, but now such news have stopped. And so what is happening exactly is, if there is a one issue, if a dog has bitten a human, and which is a rare case. Most of the cases are where humans are, doing cruelty on dogs. But where when there is one news of dog is biting a human, it creates such a outrage in whole of the country, that after that all the state governments, they come together that there is no solution to the issue and that these street dogs should be killed. And if such notifications, and they come out with the notification, so in the end, what is the solution that we have in India is we always approach the courts, because under the law it is not allowed, and we always get the relief from the court. But the main issue, that is enforcement of these laws, or government not doing its duty, or not taking the stray dogs issue seriously, or not taking the rabies and vaccination issues seriously, and not doing the community engagement, not enforcing the animal birth controls rules 2023, which provides a systematic method as prescribed by the World Health Organization. So, so these are the issues that still persist, and I did not get the um, valid data, but India, it seems, has the highest population of street dogs, I think, in the world. So, yeah, on this note, this was my presentation. On this note, I would end it. Yes. So now the floor is open for questions and discussions from the audience, from the
Thank you very much, Varnika. Perhaps I could kick off with a question to start with, and this is something I've been wondering for a while. Do any of you know whether there is some international coordination at the UN level or at the governmental level in terms of action on street dogs?
I am aware about the World Health Organization. They keep coming up with the reports that how the issue of street dogs should be dealt. But I'm not aware of the if United Nations has anything on it. But yes, World Health Organizations keep coming up with the reports, and they always quote. I've always seen India quoting in that report with the number of cases. Yes. Patricia has raised her hand. Yes, Patricia. You can unmute yourself. You.
You're still muted, Patricia. Perhaps. Let me see. Yeah. No. Oh, you're still muted. Perhaps you could type your question into the chat if your microphone isn't working, and I can read it out for you. I think there were a couple of other people during the course of the conversation who had questions as well. I mean, while we're waiting for Patricia's question to come in, I was also wondering, I mean, following on from my previous question, whether, what form you all think that any sort of collaboration should take place, because there doesn't seem to be a forum for sharing work on an ongoing basis. Patricia, I'm not seeing your question in the chat.
Patricia, maybe you can type your question in the chat.
It's possible that her computer's not working for now, but you could email it to me if you like, and I'll check my email address. Yes, so to our speakers, I wonder whether you have any thoughts on whether there should be a sort of forum for sharing lessons learned and strategies going forward.
Yes, Mr. Khabich.
Yeah, well, this has been a very good beginning, I would say. So, we have come to a platform. So maybe we can work together, like, collectively on some, some matters, like, putting pressure, or maybe even signing a petition, for example, because those cases would always be helpful. Sometimes, Nepal might not listen, their own residents, but if the government gets petition from other countries, it is the same for that country. So maybe we can work together on signing petitions.
Yeah, maybe if two countries come together, it would be an added pressure on
Yes.
it.
Like in Nepal,
I wonder,
there is a Federation of for Animal Welfare. It has not been very active, but we are very serious about it. So perhaps, we can join with, the team in India, the Federation group in India, and, become a kind of a collective force. And then later on, like, Altamush can also join in from Pakistan. Likewise, there are so many other places like who can join, and we can be a kind of a bigger force in Asia.
Yes, I think it's a Darian maybe. Yeah, yes, Altamash.
Yeah, I just wanted to concur to that point because, and interestingly, Nepal, India, and Pakistan, we are very closely connected through borders, and India and Pakistan, we share a shared history language as well. So there's my presentation about the newly passed
Altamash, your voice is cracking.
control act. I'll just stop talking then. It's okay. I was just concurring.
yes, I wonder whether it's a project too that can be taken up within the Global Research Network, because we've got many lawyers in particular working in the Animals and Biodiversity Program, and we're connected with other lawyers who are working on global animal protection treaties. This might be something to be included into such treaties, because there are very good provisions being drafted on the protection of wild animals, and the protection of pets and farm animals, but nothing that I've seen on street animals. Maria, please go ahead.
What? From Jean Dubino, there is a chat what to do here in the US. My students are attached to.
Jean, would you mind explaining what you mean by your question? I'm not quite sure that I understand.
Oh, sure. Can you hear me? First of all, thank you. That was really interesting and so informative. I'm working on a collection on narratives about that incorporate street dogs from around the world, and that's not an activist thing, but of course I'm deeply interested in the issue. My suggestion was just actually an answer in terms of what to do. In terms of raising awareness, I mean, I wasn't talking about laws. That's not my forte. But in terms of getting people to care, I just find social media can be so useful. I mean, I don't know what platforms are used by students and young people in Pakistan, India, and Nepal and Mexico, but certainly in the US. I mean, TikTok is just one way that my students and young people learn about things. And I don't know, I mean, that's just in terms of sort of, on the ground activism. So that's why I brought that up. It was just a response to what can we do to kind of create a global momentum and effort. So anyway, but that was just a suggestion. So again, I took lots of notes, and I really learned from all four of you. So thank you. And thanks for hosting this.
Thank you, Jean. It would be great to hear from our speakers. I think I know that you, Altamush, at least do use social media to raise awareness about this.
So I can say something about it. Yeah, social is actually a good part where the awareness can be raised, and we do it through Instagram and LinkedIn. TikTok unfortunately is banned in India, but when it was not even for sharing information, sometimes the social media networks are also used for some negative information. Like what was happening here is, the teenagers who had no clue what they are doing. There were videos that were uploaded on TikTok. They just tied a dog and they just threw that dog in the pond. So there were such videos that were coming actually on TikTok and also on Facebook. So such incidents were happened, and we had to report them and got those videos uh, closed, taken down by these social medias. But yeah, so I think it is a boon, and it has both positive and negatives. But yes, we do influence through social media uh, about the laws, about the positive laws, and yes, and maybe together, as for these countries, for South Global, maybe together a alliance may be a good idea for it, and do something together on social.
Okay, may I add something here? Uh, as I said, like, in my presentation, that despite the, National Civil Code and some 290 and 91 sections, still there are some shameful and horrific incidences that, still occurs here, in Nepal. But the social media has played a very bigger role. They have made a big hue and cry, and that kind of, because, like, for example, we are based in Pokhara, so we might not know what is happening in the other part of the country, and there might not be animal organizations there. So social wealth, like, through social media, we get to know about these problems. And although this is bitter truth, again, this is bitter truth, charity rivalry exists everywhere. Okay. But in such circumstances, everybody comes together. They come together. We work as a force, and mostly the issues are taken up by the Federation of Animal Welfare Nepal. This is the collective organizations. It's kind of a mother umbrella organization. But like Varnica and Altamus, we do not have lawyers that are very big animal lovers. So what it comes to is the court fees, the lawyers' fees. That has been a kind of a little problem for us in Nepal. Because you have to hire a lawyer to put up a case, to fight for it. So that has been a bit of a concern for the organizations, yes.
Interestingly, we do know lots of animal lawyers, within our organization. So it may be a matter of connecting properly and building an alliance, as Varnica says. Claudia, sorry, you had your hand.
No,
You're still muted.
No, I wasn't saying anything, Yuriko. Please continue.
Oh, I mean, Claudia, you are still muted. You might need to unmute your microphone. Oh, you can't. Okay.
No,
Perhaps you could.
I have unmuted. You can hear me?
Yes, Varnica, Claudia wants to say something. I wonder whether you can unmute her microphone for her. We seem to be having trouble with, and Patricia too.
Let me just check. I am unable to.
I'm so sorry, Claudia. Perhaps you could say something in the chat. Ayalan has also written something here. So it's important to share ideas in politics and programs to educate and reduce cruelty in animal populations. Absolutely. I think one really helpful thing that's come out of this brief meeting, an important meeting, has been to highlight the fact that there isn't any international ongoing coordination, and so after this, we can perhaps reconvene over email and have a talk and keep you all in the loop about what we decide to do. But creating an alliance and putting out a call to other organizations who couldn't be here with us today, but who are on our mailing list, to come and join us to make more of a concerted effort and to support one another would be a really useful thing, I think. I might just flag, Vanika, that we've come to the end of our time. We're getting close to the end, so it might be a good idea if there aren't any more urgent questions to wrap up, and perhaps I could hand over to you, Vanika, to close the proceedings.
I will just read Claudia's message and Iltumush. So I think that in social. Yes, Claudia, I think yes, they are. I think they both have their positives and negatives, but yes, the social media platform do help, and we keep sharing. I think all the organizations are there on social media nowadays, and we propagate the laws and how to do the sterilization. And so thank you so much for all the speakers today, and the insights that we got, I think, are quite similar in Pakistan, Mexico, Nepal, India. We are seeing that dogs are poisoned, that dogs are killed. There is lack of data. The population increase is there. And some countries have laws, some countries do not have laws, but it's still the country that has laws that they are unable to enforce them. So I think we can take this talk forward and we will keep in touch. And as we have discussed here, we can working on the alliance through Global Research Network. And I think we all have each other email IDs, and we will continue this. So on this note, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and for street
Thank
dogs.
you all for coming along. And we will keep in touch with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.